Hey guys, what's up? It's Schla coming back to ya with another episode of Car Rides with Schla. And today was, I can't say it went by slow. I think kind of the beginning of the day was kind of slow, but the end of the day was pretty fast. So that's kind of interesting. Like, yeah, I mean, it really was feeling sluggish, but it definitely like sped up because I can't really remember, much of any problem or anything, you know. I don't know. I can't, like, I didn't find myself, what am I saying? I didn't find myself too bored or anything like that. So take it as a good sign. I think so, at least. It's like, it was only the beginning part of the day, definitely sluggish. But I guess now, I mean, maybe I could elaborate more on it. But if you didn't tune into any of the walk switch law, something I brought up, or at least I think I was going to bring up at some point. I don't know if I actually got to mentioning it or not. It was I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but the whole Neuralink thing in everybody's brains and using that as a vessel for job selection, and also how that could be used for friend selection, you know? And I pushed back against GPT because GPT said, oh, well, these systems are good, but they need to be consensual. And I said, that really is not, that's not really, that kind of defeats the purpose because humans would then opt out of it to their own dismay, which that's like the whole problem, right? That's the whole thing we're dealing with, is that people aren't making the right choices and we want to have some power making the correct choices. So I guess it gets tricky to really square that, because I mean, I just don't know. And I think in the future, an idea like that will become more acceptable. But I think for now, it scares GPT a little bit, and they're not going to directly condone it. But in terms of humanity, like, I don't know, that is kind of just the truth, where that's where we're going to be headed. You know, it's just how things are. It's just how things are going to go, really. I don't really see why they wouldn't end up being that way. It's just because it just doesn't make sense. The whole like point is we need to get to a way where things are better. And we've been in a point now where for a while humanity's been effectively getting worse. And a lot of this has to do with, again, human error and just human incompetence. That's what like most of it has to do with. And it's just very strange. It's very weird. And overall, just not a good situation, to say the least. It's like very silly across the board. Yeah, I'm not too sure about this guy behind me. He one of his headlights is out, and I tend to drive very calmly, very gradually, and I went to take my turn and he really came up close to me. So I'm not too thrilled about this guy, and I'm just not happy. Like, he's kind of on my tail. I would have obviously let him pass, but it's like, I think the brain is probably biased, especially seeing one of the headlights out, to just going, because that almost it almost gives off like passivity in a way. It almost gives off like a less assertive nature. And yeah, I don't know. So that was just like a really weird and frustrating situation. I would have waited. I should have just waited. But he was very far, but I guess he was speeding. So then, you know, when you're speeding, the person ends up getting to the thing like a lot faster than you expect. Obviously couldn't tell that he was speeding. So it's just, I try to do the right thing. I do what everybody should be doing, which is driving their cars just very gently. There's no reason to drive them fast, but that's what everybody does because, I don't know, I think it's mostly just a feels thing. Like, it just feels good for people to just really let their cars roar or something, but it's terrible for the car. It just doesn't make any sense at all. And, like, in this case, this guy just floored it and sped past me, and he's got stuck at a red light anyway. So whereas I just slowly accelerated and now took my foot off the throttle, and me and this guy are basically going to be in the same situation. Yeah, I don't know. I guess narrating the car stuff, it's a little bit boring. I don't really know why I do it. Maybe I should stop. Maybe I should just try to get into the deep stuff because, that's it's kind of why we're here. It's kind of the whole point. I feel a little bit fatigued by things. I definitely think I have like a type of OCD where I put a lot of effort into just trying to like get everything done and have everything perfect and have all the foundational stuff laid in time, basically. And I'm always like that. And it just, it gets tiring after a while. Like, eventually I kind of break and I just want to, I just want to relax. I just want to feel free. And I guess that's the human in me breaking down. But I am fairly lazy, so it's kind of why, like, if we get like a fully-fledged AI someday where I can really just tell it to do stuff and it'll just do stuff for me, that's going to be the gold moment. Because then I'm really going to be able to optimize. What I've realized, I've gotten older, and in the past year, the past 2 years, but especially the past year, I've grown a lot, like, as a person. I have a lot, I guess, to show for the past. Sorry, it just like seems a little bit crazy right now, these people being crazy. Anyways, I have a lot to show for it. I feel like I've changed a lot as a person. I feel like if you talk to me, a year or two ago, and then you talk to me now, there's been a lot of growth. There's been a lot of development, a lot of changes as well. And the people around me, I just don't really, like, it's like nothing's new. And I guess I find that with people, nothing's ever really new. It's like rare that people really find out like a new thing or get into a new thing. It's very much the same. So I guess I wonder, like, what do people do with their time? They probably just relax and recharge, because oftentimes I feel like I'm running on empty because of just how much I'm like thinking about, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could do that, boom, 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 like, oh, what about this? Like, I went down this whole list of like, oh, well, what about clothing? What fabric would be most optimal for me? Punch that into GPT, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? And for most people, it's just way too crazy. Like, they don't even care. They don't care about what's best. They don't care about what's optimal. For food, I kind of did that, learning about nutrition, and I am a carnivore. I title myself as semi-carnivorous. I am that for now, but I don't know if anything were to ever happen. I would hope it isn't, because I'm eating my favorite food right now and I love it. But I guess if the science would ever show that like veganism really is healthier, which again, there's debate, there's back and forth about it. I would hope at some point later on in life maybe I would be able to change to that. But for the time being, I did a lot of research into that. It's like boom, boom, boom. Like I changed dramatically. The way I used to think and be is a far cry from a lot of the beliefs I hold now. I really used to have some very bad and out there kind of beliefs, and now a lot of my ideas are still a bit zany, to say the least. They are definitely much more developed and much more formidable as being able to hold their own. The ones I had before, I mean, it's just, it's not. I've always had different beliefs, but I think the beliefs I hold now are much more like clear and much more, I don't know, things that I think, or I guess I would hope will still be standing on solid ground even like years from now in terms of a lot of my predictions and a lot of the ideology. Whereas a lot of the things I thought of when I was a teenager, that stuff has not really stood the test of time. The things I said, maybe there was some kind of divine, poetic kind of takeaway from it or something. I mean, it would be nice to think that was the case, but I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm just not sure. And it could have just been kind of my brain feeling things out. But I did believe a lot of things that I think ultimately were kind of nonsense. You know what I'm saying? It's like, kind of nonsense. I still get that way. With the car thing, living in the car, I kind of got carried away. I believe I talked about it on here. That's probably a funny episode. There's still some merit to that, but it's ultimately true that a home, like just lots of people living in a house, is ultimately like a superior living situation for, just eco-friendly and all that stuff. It's just easier, I think, because you can have thicker walls with better insulation. So that's kind of the main, like a car can't compete with that. It just can't. The main idea, though, it still sounds interesting, I guess, when I describe things, but there's obviously a filtering that needs to occur. I mean, the benefits of the car are obvious. It's like, you have, and maybe it's possible that at some point we can innovate like an air conditioning system that well. No, because a house with thick walls and proper insulation would always just be better. Yeah, I don't know. But I do think group home and group living is going to be a very important thing. It already is, and that's kind of why we're seeing the cost of living crunch that we're seeing. The problem is just people themselves are no good. That's really the problem. Because even right now, I would be fine with living with roommates or whatever. I mean, living with family, it's like a similar concept. But I have no idea who I would even want to live with. And it's just sad because I really do want to experience life in this really like fun way and have people you can really be tight with and trust with all kinds of stuff. But I just have never met people like that. I mean, I've met people where, you share things with them and they just stab you in the back. They just lie. It's really been an interesting situation for me, I guess. But, I don't know. I would hope that at some point I could really experience life in a fun way with people that I could really trust and care about and stuff, Like I definitely could have a lot of fun with people. Just nobody really wants to be at the level that I'm at. Like it's just very, it's tricky. It's definitely a tricky situation for me because there's already like so much of my youth that could have been spent really having fun, positive memories with people. It's just not, because it's just people are not that fun. Although I will admit, I think the person I am now, I just wish I could have been this person sooner. But for whatever reason, it took me until now to really, I don't know, mature. And I hope that even like a year from now, I'll look back and listen to these recordings and kind of like, hopefully I'll cringe at it. Hopefully it'll be that much better. But I guess that's something I kind of worry about, that when will there be a diminishing return kind of, thing going on? Because that could really happen at any point. I don't know when I've reached the peak where it's like maybe next year I'm not really going to notice much of a difference. I personally feel like the past couple months have not been too exciting, but that could be understated. I have been doing this recording for 5 months now. I'm trying to think, do I need to like do a recalculation? 5 months, it's going to be half a year soon of the recording. And yeah, it's that probably makes a difference. I guess it's just in my head, I don't really feel like I've improved that much in terms of my speaking skills and speaking ability, but I actually don't think that's true. Like, I don't know. It's just hard to gauge because it would have been something that was so gradual, but I guess I do feel like I probably am better at speaking now than I was pre-doing the show. Just difficult to say because I always spoke. I always, I was never bad at talking in this format, but it's just something I guess it's hard to gauge, and there's no way to really gauge it. I mean, someday there will be, because now that it's chronicled, in the far future, we'll be able to look back and say, oh, well, obviously at this point. So I'm just realizing I'm pretty sure I did something pretty wrong with my food. Yeah, I should have took. Yeah, that's not going to be good. The beef hasn't really defrosted properly. Anyways, yeah, that's really going to be a pain to deal with. Sorry, just random. I keep wanting to do it Tuesday morning. I think this morning, because I didn't do it Tuesday morning, and this morning I assumed I finally remembered to do it in the morning. No, like I did it like actually later than, yeah, it's not good. It's not going to be fun to have to deal with, I guess. But yeah, no, that was a random thought. Being able to gauge it will be possible, because at some point, hopefully, in the far future, you have like GPT-6 or maybe something better where it can really analyze and kind of see, okay, did you improve in terms of your speaking ability? I think personally, when it comes to introducing the walk switch law, that's really going to be the main lever, because that grew my amount of time spent speaking dramatically. I mean, it basically almost doubled. Maybe because 100%'s doubled, so maybe it increased it by like 80%. Because I'm trying to think, 60 divided by 80, 6/8 is going to be 75. Yeah. Yep. Right? Yeah. 75%. I think. Am I being like that? Because it would just be 2/8 is 25% for it. Yeah. Yeah. 6/8, 75, 80. Yeah. That's probably about where I'm at. So I increased the amount of time I spend talking each day. I mean, car rides with Schla already increased that a lot. But then, it's just some episodes, I feel like they're just so terrible and I don't have a lot to say. But maybe there is merit to just like muscling through that. I almost feel like I'm repeating. I think we've had this conversation so many times. I feel like I have to pat myself on the back too, because nobody does. Like, I've been doing this series for so long, and it's like I haven't really gotten anybody. Like, there hasn't been one comment. There hasn't really been any noticeable I've actually lost a lot of subscribers. I have gained a few as well, but we're actually at just the amount of subscribers I've started with. So we're not really like profiting. There's not really any indicator that I've done anything. And I'm okay with that because, like I said, I mean, at this point, I think it's rough drafts. It's stuff for personal growth. It's, if I have my talk show that I want someday, I guess I see this as a way of grinding to that. If there was ever a documentary about me, I'm sure that would be in there. I mean, when you hear of people, nobody ever just gets like handed something, right? So there has to be like something I could do if I have that dream. And I remember, I think when I first started the series, like talking about just not really having the confidence or the action ability to really pull a trigger. I get stuck in my head a lot, and pulling a trigger is always like a really, I try to have like a really precise shot and get in there, and that's very difficult to, it's a good trait, but it's a difficult trait to have in this age, because in this age it's all about just taking shots, and I'm just not like that. So that's kind of the impression I get from it. And I kind of just blanked out completely on what we were talking about, so excuse me, I don't know. Oh yeah, like if there was ever, I mean, people practice this stuff, and if there's evidence of this, like, yeah, I mean, this guy's, he had some kind of a skill, but, randomly in halfway through 2025, he started recording essentially every single car ride home to and from work without fail, and I think that is the case. I don't think I've missed a single time. I've been in this car since May, to and from work. I've always recorded it. I've always been talking, even through my best and my worst. I've always shown up. Isn't that like, it's really, so I think that's something that would be said, because when you hear these people about, whether it's like a documentary about a comedian or a documentary about any of these people, I mean, you try to do stuff, you have some kind of material output. I guess I'm starting late. I don't think, it could take a long time before I see any return, or of course I could never see a return either, which I'd be fine with, because it's like, it still just feels better. Like the fact that these exist, it just feels good to me. It feels like a very good thing. I think it helps to understand myself better, and even in my casual life, I mean, I don't know, helps the car ride go by faster. I mean, coming home and having the commute with nothing to do, it's terrible. I mean, it's just so expensive when you think about the logistics of it. And yeah, that's just kind of the ultimate thing, was transmuting it all into what I have, which is now, I'm able to use this time for something that at least I feel is productive, because and it's a way to actually get my voice out. It's kind of difficult to realize like how far I've come, because I used to really hound people to call in VC so much, and my battery is just way higher than other people's for introverted like interactions, and it just doesn't work. Whereas at least now I'm kind of getting my fill. I mean, it's not the same as having another person around, but it satiates it a little bit, and in a way, like I said, it's different. It kind of keeps my sanity, because I know everything is recorded and stuff. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm repeating. I'm doing a lot of repeating in this episode, but like I said, I think I have to just say this to myself, because I don't really have anybody in my life who is that supportive, I just don't. So in this case, I have myself, so I'm just trying to like take advantage of that I'm able to, I try to be supportive of other people, or I have, until they betray me or let me down. It's kind of how things have went in my life. But at the same time, I think having my tongue, it's a double-edged sword. My tongue's a double-edged sword. I think if I really wanted to be mean, I could probably cut harder than most people. I'm just not skilled in that regard because I haven't really spent as much time doing that. So I don't really know. I don't know if I'm actually able to be like that mean to people. Like I would think I could be able to, but it's like at the same time I don't really know because I don't engage in a lot of that content. A lot of the content I watched or watch was always about, more of like a kind of thing, more so than it would more so be about like kindness. It wouldn't I don't know. It just never I guess there wasn't that much entertainment value out of that kind of content. I'm realizing now like it's possible a majority of humans just gravitate to drama, and especially in this day and age, like it's so stimulating and entertaining for people. And I don't really think there's that many people who are even using the internet as like a mindfulness tool. And such a large chunk of my teenage years were spent doing that. And that I think really was a powerful thing for me. Because it affects you, like, I don't know, in a lot of teenage years, they're wasted. And mine, I definitely wasted. I, financially wasted, for example, for sure. But at least in some ways, it was pretty mindful. I wasn't like, they weren't completely wasted in the way I think it is for a lot of other people. So I think that's had a lingering effect. And then it's like when I interact with people now, it's I don't even realize like where people are at, and they're definitely at like a depraved kind of vibe. That's just definitely where they're at. People have been stimulated so much by the screens and just like the content that they interface with, and it's screens and content that I didn't even use or have access to. Like I didn't really use Instagram or any of these like social media things much. I just never did. I thought, I would for like a period of time. I was really obsessed with Snapchat, and I like was posting more than anybody, and then people were like complaining about me because they were like, oh my gosh, you posted way too much stuff on your story. Like, you sent me so many snaps. You sent me so many snaps, and the blah blah blah. And so I tend to do that too, like be extreme with things. But then I don't know, I just never kept doing it. Like I was never really as involved with it. I always kind of thought it was a waste of time. And so yeah, I think I was like completely off social media by a certain point. You heard a lot about like people being mindful and not interacting with it. I think in a way that you just don't really see anymore. I feel like now everybody, it's so addicting. It's like people just don't even really talk about it anymore. They don't talk about, oh, like I'm gonna do a dopamine detox or whatever. That's just kind of my impression. I could be kind of wrong about that, but again, it's just kind of how I feel. Like I don't know. That's a genuine kind of like impression I get from it. Things changed. People are like less interested in the detox, and I think in a lot of ways they're less able to. They're less able to partake in a detox because things have gotten so much more stimulating and addicting. Like, I don't know, and people are more like evil too. I really think it's a genuine like a mischievous and an evil nature, because again they've been so hyper stimulated, and all it takes is like having that. And people are not even aware of how it's like affecting their brain or the way they're processing things. I mean, it's really pretty scary and confusing the way that things have shaped out to be. I just don't know. It's yeah, there's definitely there's something going on. Like I'm well aware of it, and a lot of people don't notice it or might think I'm crazy, but I know it's true. I definitely know it's true. Like there's not a shadow of there's not a doubt in my mind, just how much things have changed. Not a doubt in my mind at all. It's crazy. It's just a bunch of craziness. And yeah, I don't even remember what we got here or why we're talking about it. But it's been weird for me, and I've just grown up in a very weird way, swinging back and forth between things. Ultimately, not really being all that special. At the end of the day, I would say I'm fairly just like average. Of course, socially kind of below average, and but it's kind of like I'm all over the place. I mean, in some ways I'm the most mature, some ways I'm probably the least mature. There's like all kinds of just all over the place kind of stuff that I can attribute to myself, and that probably has to do with just how my emotions bounce around. But I think that might be just how I feel things out. I don't know. I think my brain just has to like do that to learn, and that's kind of how I learned, at least my way of learning how to interact with others. I don't know if that's valid. I'm not, I'm just kind of making something up. I it seems like it could be intuitively correct, and my intuition is usually correct, but I'm not an expert in whatever. I'm just saying it could be true that my swinging emotions, it caused a lot of problems early on, but in the long term now, that allows you to kind of dip your toes in the water so many times. Now you're in good condition. Now you like really know what's up, because you learn and you experience that, right? I don't know. So it is what it is. It definitely is what it is. I hate saying that. I'm not gonna. I just hate how programmed that is into my mind. Like, we should be programmed. It's not what it is. Let's make it not what it is. Let's improve things, because like that it is what it is thing. It's a sign of a decaying and apathetic culture. It's not wisdom. Like I feel like that, and that is the wisdom that has been told for me by like adults. I mean, I really cared about stuff. I really knew stuff wasn't right. And I got to the point where I think in like 2024, I finally was like, yeah, I guess you just have to get used to life not making any sense. And people would validate that. Adults, no. I'm just not doing that anymore. It's like, I just don't think it's right. I don't think it's right at all. I think you just can't move like that. I don't know. It's like, to think like that, it's just crazy to think like that. That's just how I feel. It's just a crazy thing. Because that's why we're in the position we are now, because everybody says it is what it is. It's such a human and such a stupid way to operate, but it's not like it's impossible for the opposite to be the case. Like, it's very possible. It's very possible for humans to we can change stuff. We can get together, we can think of a plan, execute it. It's possible. It's definitely possible. So it's not just like, oh, it is what it is and there's no hope. The thing is that since we know that that's human nature, you have to remove autonomy from the equation. It's basically like our freedom, our free will it's not strong enough. If it exists, it's not strong enough, and it kind of has to be like intrusively manipulated by the Neuralink. Now, if you always have Neuralink intrusive thoughts in your brain, you don't know what is and isn't. It would manufacture a person to be better than they would have been without the Neuralink. So that's a pretty like legitimate thing to point out. Obvious, I think so. But yeah. So I hope I'm getting somewhere. Like I said, it's just been like a sticky time. It's just been like a odd time for me, confused. I don't really know what to think or where to really go from here or anything like that. It's just like a tricky time. A very tricky time. Just, I don't know. But at least I'm excited to talk. At least it wasn't a terrible episode where I had nothing to say. I guess some of it was repetition. So, I don't know. Well, I guess hopefully someday, again, I'll be able to run all this through an AI and we can see just how often I repeat I mean, it's going to be so cool. I know it's going to be possible at some point. It's definitely just going to be. I'm very excited for that day. Super excited for that day. You know, it's just like, wow. And that's the only thing I can think about, really, because the economy is going to get worse and everything else is definitely going to get worse. So, but it's the tech that I could hopefully integrate with better and have more of a use for, because it's just so behind. Everything is so dreadfully behind right now. It's insane. I mean, we could just be so much further ahead, but people haven't changed, you know? And the amount of power some of these people have in the tech that they use, it's like crazy that they don't use it. I just can't get over that. Anyways, I do think it's been schla, and now it's time to buy schla. So, see you schla.